Cool. We are on the next step, which today we are going through. Make sure you see here. Register your business. The last step would have been get your name and your brand. Now you register your business. We just went through, yeah, it doesn't even matter because you guys won't see it in this order. But yesterday we did secure your business insurance. But obviously you need to register your business before you get business insurance. So we switched it. So right now we're getting to how to register your business and set up your cleaning business. This checklist is completely free. The very simple, straightforward, dummy proof, no BS remote cleaning business checklist, everything in order, step by step of what you should do, plus a 90-day launch pad of what to do in a systematic order to start making money in your business. But we're going to go right into what this sheet is. So here, when you click on what's hyperlinked, it goes into an in-depth breakdown of the step and how to do so. So here on YouTube, if you TikTok, you see me on YouTube, I'm actually going through the worksheet. So what does it mean to register your business? Registering your business tells your country, your state, your province that you are a legitimate legal entity. Without it, you are what they would call cleaners cleaning without registration, private cleaners. Registering your business increases your perceived value as well as your legitimacy. When you're working, and for those on TikTok, his goal is to make 100K a month. There's no way in freaking hell that you're making 100K a month as a private cleaner and working with at a volume of 100K. So you might as well register your business if your goal is to make 100K a month, right? I'm going to be speaking to those who are building a legacy, a business that is scalable, not only scalable, which just means be able to grow without you, but is actually able to be sold. A lot of people are working solo thinking that they could sell their business, but their business is not an organization and it's not sellable. No one sees it as valuable because the moment that you sell it over or you try to sell your clients are so in love with you. They're used to your system. They're not used to a scale like a professional organization that even if you sold it to someone else, they probably won't stick anyways, unless that person does a really good job of building a relationship with them in the first place. Okay, so this is why we are registering your business from the jump. If you are someone that says, can I just not wait to my first client to register my business? You are not, I'm going to tell you right now, with that mindset, entrepreneurship is not for you. It's a really go all in, or you will always have one foot in, one foot out. And the moment something goes downhill, you're going to run back to the job. And I'm going to tell you it's worth it. But if you are not fully committed to this lifestyle, that's why I have a support group for us, then it's going to be difficult to see your business go past 3, 4, 5 years healthily and profitable. Okay. So when you're picking your business type, there are 3 main ones. Primarily, I'm speaking to like English speaking countries. You might have an alternative version to this in your country, but majority of the content here is catered to US and Canada. However, the AI prompts does allow you to put in your country and your province to get the information specific to your area. So there's 3 main business types: solopreneur, LLC, which is also incorporated in Canada, and as well partnership. I don't really speak on partnerships. If you are with a friend or a spouse, depends on your legal bounding of your spouse, if it's going to be considered partnership or your one marriage identity, then you have to deal with that. I would also highly recommend, if you are in partnership, that there's lawyers involved, so that should anything happens, the partnership breaks, or what happens should you sell the business, how do you disperse it? Okay, especially with the time investment and income investment, who's putting in what, who's doing what, y'all need to figure that out. I'm not experienced with that. I just highly recommend you do have legal and agreements with your partnership should you go the partnership route. I'm familiar with solopreneur. I'm familiar with sole proprietorship and then incorporate LLC. I've still read my business to this day in Canada as a sole proprietorship. I also have an LLC incorporated with my personal brand, so I could tell you the experience on the pros and cons for it. For most countries, if you can start with a sole proprietorship, I highly recommend it. The only huge difference where, again, I know some states you guys have to go into LLC, and especially because as a remote cleaning business, you are technically third party. It's best that you do LLC right away. But for Canada, we can start with sole proprietorship legally. It doesn't really taint us. And regarding outside of the liability purposes. So as you grow your business, especially I would say if you're making $30,000 a month, I think it's time for you to go into the corporation because you have higher assets in your business and in your personal life that you do want to separate and make separate entities. So sole proprietorship, it's you like if anything happens and a client does want to sue, this is like worst case scenario, do not make this a thing. Do not make this scare you. Worst case scenario, they sue you. They can go after your personal assets if your business cannot pay for it. Whereas if you are a LLC or incorporated, you're two different identities. If a client wants to go after you or a team wants to go after you, they're really going after your business, not you. Your personal assets are completely safe. Now, I am not an expert. I am not, and I don't claim to be in business registration and or legal issues or accounting issues. As a business owner, you should have experts in your corner. So you should already be looking for an accountant, a lawyer, possibly, uh, and knowing these things for yourself. I know your country and your city have a number to get exact information. If you can't get on the website, you can call them. That's why I did. I had a 30-minute conversation with Service Canada, asking them all the questions that you guys actually asked me, and I actually made a video on that. So that's all how you register. It's even in this link, okay? But that is how simple it is to get the information by calling the people directly. Okay. So those are three types of businesses that you can uh, do. Okay. This is the same thing as Corporation Inc. LLC. All right. Now I have a prompt here for you to plug in all your variables, your business, how you want to protect yourself. Again, remove what is not necessary, but it's going to help you get an idea of how you want to structure your business. My suggestion is if you can start with a sole proprietorship, just don't start a sole proprietorship, depending how where you are starting. So if you are someone who has a business already, or you are an independent contractor and you're making six figures already, and having a remote clean business is just part of your wealth portfolio, then you're going to want to start with the LLC because you have such huge assets and you want to protect separate too. Okay, so it all depends on where you are currently and where you want to see your business. Either way, you should be registering your business. Okay, and then it's going to break down the terms of like business terms, lingos that you need to be aware of. For those in Canada, you're going to be considering should you or can you charge tax. In Canada, you are not legally able to charge any tax unless you have registered for HST number. On all your invoices, you should have your HST number as a proof, especially if you're doing business to business. They require you to have the HST number on file because they need to know if they can even charge you or if you are able to um, remove that extra money for them. Taxes is not yours, taxes is the government. Now, if you do not register for a tax number, then you are still going to need to pay taxes. If you live in a country that has has taxes that you have to pay regardless if you charge it or you're not. So take that in consideration when you are pricing your services, because either way, the government wants you to owe them money. And then to register for your HST, again, I'm speaking for Canadians, you can volunteer anytime to. Having tax, being able to charge tax is actually helps with your perceived value as well, versus saying, oh, flat rate. People can perceive you as a private cleaner or a small business, whereas you are able to charge tax. You're showing your clients that you've registered your business, you've established an organization that I to contribute to the government. And trust me, people can think that way. especially if they're patriots, okay? And or want to make sure that they could save on taxes. That could be something they consider. Okay. And then all this information here is for you to be aware of what to expect when you're registering. When you have a bank account, you are registering for a business bank account. It's just easier to separate your personal from your business expenses. Yes, you should be paying yourself. I will be going through all of that in like the pricing area to help with how you should pay yourself. Should this be a form of income that you are using for yourself? If this is just a part of your wealth portfolio as a separate business, then you don't need to be aware of how to pay yourself, but you want to know how you pay your staff and your people. But having a business bank account is highly recommended, especially for your taxing season. Okay. Now, I do break down on how does registering your business affect if you're going to do employee or contractor route, which is either way, again, figure out what that looks like for your state in Canada. It doesn't matter if you're sole proprietor or a corporation or Inc. You can have employees or subcontractors. They just have different paperwork in regarding to them. So I put here what to take note of, whether you are going to hire employees or subcontractors. In the first two steps, I'm speaking to people that want employees or contractors. And the remaining steps after 3 down, I'm only speaking to those who are doing subcontractor route, because that's how I built my remote cleaning business, on subcontractors, which is, again, I don't want to use the terms because it's different for Canadians, and it's different for Americans, and it's different for other people. But employees, essentially, you are responsible for their benefits, their vacation pay, workers' comps, where contractors, you are not. They are their independent business. They're their own, and they take care of their own taxes. They have to have their own insurance. And that's why when it comes to starting up a remote cleaning business, especially if you have low startup costs, going contractor route is the best way, if that's your goal. Okay. I'm not saying it's the best way if you that's not your goal. Okay. Then it gives you an AI prompt to make a decision on what that would look like for you, giving you ability to see, would contractors or employees work with me? Am I going to be doing sole proprietorship, or is it best to do incorporation? If I was doing a partner, what type should I take in consideration? So this AI prompt, you just plug in, again, what makes sense to you, and have chat give you down ideas or directions on what that looks like for you. Now, I also get questions on, do you need special requirements or licenses or permits? To my knowledge, in I mean, I've been in the business for 8 years. I never had to use anything. It's not like you're using machinery. Should your business use a forklift, which you can literally rent that without getting any licenses, to be honest with you, that is something that you now have to consider. Is that even covered in your insurance should anything happen to either the machine or the person using the machine? So you have to take in consideration that. But there's no special permits outside of if there is a special machine that you're using. In most machines, you can just buy it, and you have to train. It's up to your company to train an individual, and should they need a license to do so. Again, most of the time it's because of your insurance company will then permit you to have these licenses. Okay. So that's what you also need to consider. However, to start a cleaning business, especially if you're doing, home, and you're really just cleaning, even if you're using a power wash, even if you're using a buffer, those things do not need a license for it or a permit for it. Possibly if you're using huge machines outside a commercial and it's a part of a construction site, the construction individuals may need a permit to do the constructions. But if it's not you that's doing the actual job, then it's not up to you. I'm sure the construction company's paying you, and they would have to have your permit. That's a lot of spiel. That's something that you probably won't even understand unless you get to that experience at that situation anyways. But just know, no permission, no permits. But if again, there's an AI prompt for you to plug in to see if there is any permits or licenses that you probably need in your area. So here I just skipped over certain other things like employees versus contractors, like different permits for them. It's just really like workers' comps if you have employees, whereas contractors, you don't need all that stuff. I just kind of touched on that, a difference at the between. And everything here I included on what to look out for the IRS. What is a tax number, IN number, which is for us is just a business number. What states you need to be more specific on. It says here like Texas, Florida, Washington, cleaning business needs special bonds. Didn't know that. So look at that chat. Use the chat prompts to figure out for yourself. UK, Australia, New Zealand. I just asked chat to give me as much prompts to help anyone get all the information I need for their specific countries. Okay. And then here at the end of all of the tools, you'll see a checklist of how to go through each step to ensure that you have done it. A metrics graph to determine for you what that looks like and what type of business model you're going to go for and what kind of paperwork you need, helping you determine, make the right best decision for you, not through laziness, but what makes sense for your current and where you want to be in your goals. That's why I'm always going to refer doing step one and making sure you do your vision-based business plan is always going to be your goal, and your steps is always determined by your goal, not by what I say, not by what all the videos say, not by the rich guy with that you have no idea what he did and why he's done it. Okay. You need to know what you need to do for your business. So when you get there, you are fully fulfilled and not confused. All right. So as always, if you need any support, go ahead and go inside the Profit Mindset Mastery group. And here at the beginning, I have a video on how to register your business in Canada on your cleaning business, a YouTube video, as well as should you want to register third party, you can use owner.io. This is for Canadians to register whether you want to do sole proprietorship or incorporation. I incorporated my business with hunter.io. With owner.co, sorry. And then I just went on Service Ontario to register my business. I also have a video on YouTube for that, for those of you who are in Ontario to register. All right, so let's get into the next step.